Welcome to ETMA Tech Talk, the podcast that unveils forces shaping the future of tech. In each episode, we bring together visionary leaders, forward-thinking innovators, and game-changing experts who are transforming the enterprise tech landscape. Listen to insider perspectives, dive into bold stories of digital transformation and strategic breakthroughs. Here is your host, ETMA's Managing Director, Joe Basili.
Okay, welcome. Cyber threats are business disruptors. We all know that. In this episode of ETMA Tech Talk, we explore how top-tier cybersecurity partnerships are reshaping how enterprises stay protected at scale. But this episode isn't about firewall specs or product sheets. It's about building resilient alliances, scalable security models, and channel strategies that will withstand the test of both cyber attacks and economic headwinds. Get ready to uncover what's really happening at the intersection of managed security services, innovation, and enterprise resilience, and a few eye-opening stories you won't want to miss. Our guest is redefining how channel ecosystems combat threats in a constantly shifting landscape. Jessica Reece is the head of MSSP Americas at Check Point Software Technologies, a global leader protecting over 100,000 organizations worldwide. Jessica has spent more than a decade helping partners evolve from resellers to full-scale managed security service providers. She understands that keeping CISOs up at night, what keeps them up at night, as well as what it takes to navigate geopolitical risks, ransomware, economics, and AI-fueled threats. In her current role, she pairs technology passion with her ability to connect with clients and partners. Her commitment to team building and professional growth extends beyond conventional roles as she invests in the future of the cybersecurity sector by nurturing talent and encouraging a culture of professional knowledge sharing. Let's get started with our guest from Check Point Software Technologies, Jessica Reece. Welcome, Jessica.
Thanks, Joe. Very glad to be here. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
So let's talk a little bit about Check Point Software. For people that aren't familiar with your firm, what do you specialize in and what are the things people should know?
Yeah, absolutely. Check Point has been around. We're over 30 years old, and a lot of people still historically know us as the inventor of the stateful inspection firewall back in the early 90s. And so our previous CEO and our founder, Gil Schwed, took this idea that he needed to offer protection to the world, right? And created the firewall. And over time, as that's morphed, it's changed Check Point as well. So we are not just a firewall company anymore. That same protection and that same prevention first kind of capability that we wanted our customers to be able to utilize in their internal infrastructure to protect their most valuable of assets. We've taken that same security and we've been able to build out products or acquire and perfect products within an entire ecosystem of a customer's environment, from their network over to everything within their workspace, to be able to offer them truly prevention first security. We do this, from the firewall now into like this AI-driven compute. Check Point has transformed what we've been doing and staying aligned with what our customers need from us. And really, our goal is to protect the world.
Wow. Okay.
It's a heavy load.
It is. So many managed security service providers are trying to kind of shift left and expand advisory services, but few succeed. What do you think are the key capabilities and mind shifts MSSPs need today to evolve beyond the traditional reactive models?
A lot of them have a lot of data. The data that they're collecting across the vendors that they're utilizing within their stack or within the ecosystem that they're providing out as services to their customers. So the next step in that evolution to make a shift is really taking advantage of the data that they have, quantifying it, helping their customers understand the data that exists and how they can leverage it to do more in terms of compliance and security. And it's really the MSSP job, if they want to make that transition, to have that deep understanding, to be able to communicate and then deliver the services around that in terms of consultative engagements, right? driving the conversation and getting their customers to engage in a way that they're thinking about their data and they're thinking about the security of their environments, big or small, in a different way. And that's where the consulting really takes it from just that reactive engagement to the forward thinking about what cyber resiliency really means.
And SMBs often lack in-house security expertise, and increasingly they're being targeted by advanced threats. How can MSSPs design offerings that are really affordable for this SMB market and resilient for what's in many cases an underserved market?
Yeah, that's a huge challenge. And part of it is understanding that even though they're an SMB, their security requirements, although smaller, are not different than a large enterprise. So when MSSPs are working with vendors and looking at the type of services they're going to deliver out to those SMBs, there needs to really be a no barrier of entry. And what I mean by that is one user needs to be enough to make the engagement. And there's a lot of times where toolings are so expensive that they outprice themselves before you even get the conversation going. An MSP has the ability to bring in the expertise and be the funnel of all these different technologies and all these different securities that need to come together, and packaging it up. So packaging it is very important. Also, I think the shift now that we're seeing, if vendors aren't already there in their understanding that there's a market that the MSSPs and MSPs are serving that isn't, that you can't stand with your traditional licensing modeling. So you have to change the way that you're modeling it. You have to make it flexible, and you have to make it where the partner is not taking on costs that they can't support to the SMB. So we have to make sure that from the vendor all the way to the customer, the licensing model fits with what the customer is needing. So as an example, that would be the flexibility to turn off or turn on licensing at will as needed. So the customers aren't hit with a bill for employees that left the company or were let go. Or when they have an increase in employees, it's, the holiday season and they hire a contractor to help them out, right? They need to turn on a license, but they don't want to buy it for a year. They don't want to be locked in for 3 years. So flexibility in the way that we bill, flexibility in the way that we license continues to help us get closer to that zero barrier of entry for our SMB friends and the enterprise, and in an enterprise type model.
Are there particular market segments that Checkpoint targets? Obviously, it's not just SMBs, so.
Absolutely. So Checkpoint has over 100,000 customers worldwide, and that's protecting some of your largest enterprises and government entities around the world. And although that's where we started as an enterprise-focused company. And the great thing about that is our journey as a company was to understand the customer and their needs. So when we look at the customers we're serving, we can turn to our MSSP community and understand the customers they're serving as well. Again, size doesn't matter. The infrastructure is what matters. And everyone has the same nuts and bolts of their infrastructure that needs security. So from Checkpoint, we secure all the way from the SMBs up to your largest enterprises. And in some cases, it makes more sense to work with our partner community to address some of those smaller customers because of the reach they themselves have, where we may potentially have the namesake and the engagements more on the enterprise side.
Would you say, in the ecosystem today, what particular areas do you think are most misunderstood as it relates to MSSP, and why should enterprise decision makers care more now than ever?
I think it comes down to how do you do more with what you have? As companies are looking at cost reduction, ways to save money, ways to provide better protection or better security needs, and that cyber security resiliency that they really are trying to get to. When they look internally, sometimes the people aren't there. And I know the theme right now is AI is taking our jobs, but I would also like to point people to the fact that the cyberspace has so many unfilled jobs already as it is. So they're not. I'm not sure what the recent study is, but we're talking millions, at least, roles in the cyberspace. That's why services are so important as well. Is it fills a gap where an enterprise may not have the knowledge or the persona to take on the skill set or the need that an environment might have from a security perspective, so they can leverage the service providers to deliver that for them. Okay, and so that is going to consistently be a requirement. I only think it's going to increase, not decrease, and that's why that MSP space is so important. And then what you asked earlier regarding how do they change or become more consultative, I think that's really where the doubling down needs to go. I think a lot of places are exploring that. We've seen a boom in the vCISO roles and that kind of service that is delivered. I think that's going to increase, and now we're going to move to like, I'll give it a role of data architect. I don't know, fill in the blank. But now, as I mentioned, data is going to be a bigger part in that. And that is the part, I don't think it's misunderstood. I think people understand it's there. I think it's, what do we do now with it?
Interesting. And speaking of gaps, you were talking about enterprise gaps, but with your partnerships, I'm sure you derived some satisfaction, personal satisfaction working with partners where you see that you've filled gaps. Can you give some examples of how you've helped out partners filling in gaps in their product portfolios?
Absolutely. When we work with MSSPs, a lot of them are already very set, or they've built their offering on some core products, right? And so augmenting is an easier lift than complete shifting of something they've already got built in their core offering. And so one of the things that we have excelled with over the last few years is post-acquisition that Checkpoint made around a company called Avanan, which is the leader in email security.
Can you give some examples of partnerships that you have? I know you've probably taken pride in the fact that you pushed your partners and help them fill gaps in their portfolios.
Absolutely. One of the things that we've done in the MSSP space, as we've really focused in this area over the last few years as a go-to-market for Checkpoint, post our acquisition of Avanan, which is our today email and collaboration solution, which is our inline email protection, best of breed, we've found that as we bring the best products to market for our partners, they see that. And even though they have a stack or a set of solutions that they're already going to market with, or their customers already have in terms of their infrastructure protection, we can bring the best of breed into what they're doing and either augment, offer a secondary option, or fully replace what the customer might be, or what the MSP might already be offering out to their customer.
And how is Checkpoint enabling partners to go beyond just selling protection and actually becoming growth protectors, or growth accelerators rather, for clients?
Yeah, I mentioned our charge to secure the world, and we take that messaging into our partnerships too, right? So we want to help our partners get to a point where they can say the same thing. They're protecting the world. They're prevention first. They're thinking before the risk. They're leveraging AI to do different things with the data that their customers had, to be on the front edge and the cutting edge of compliance and these ever-evolving risks.
And what do you see on the horizon that you think is going to be really transformational or disruptive in your firm's area?
Yeah, AI, I think, will continue to disrupt. That, of course, is the buzzword and everything that's going on right now. But if we think about AI, not just in like ChatGPT, but this artificial virtual reality that's being created in our daily lives, we can play around with it. But when we think about the threat actors, they're not just playing, right? So they're taking it to the next level. So I think this is going to continue to evolve. Add that to like quantum computing capabilities and additional machine learning that's just going to continue to accelerate itself. We're going to go from, technological innovation over the last, we'll just say decade, what we're used to, what we felt, how we've seen the growth. I think that time is in short order going to, we're going to see that same type of advancement in just such a shorter amount of time. We have to be able to know what to do with it and how to react really quickly.
Sounds exciting. What are some of the most innovative projects that you've been a part of in the past year?
In the MSSP space at Checkpoint, we are still in our infancy in our program. And so continuing to cultivate and bring to market, working with our MSSPs, getting feedback from our customers to ensuring that our program aligns with what needs to go to the customer, and the customer satisfaction of the product continues to excite me. My background and my history and what I love is managed services. You said it in the introduction, like the intersection of cybersecurity and managed services is absolutely the raddest place you could be right now. And that's where I'm at. And so being able to consistently improve what we're doing based on the feedback we're getting is extremely exciting.
What about some situations where maybe a time when things didn't go according to plan?
It happens. It happens to everybody. When we take things to market with our partners, we're investing in them and a go-to-market and the enablement, but they're really investing in us, in our products, in the belief in the company, and in our vision and what we're doing. And we had one partnership where we had spent, I think, almost 18 months in building out a fantastic go-to-market, which included product selection, integration, API development, portal integration. I mean, it was start to finish. It was going to launch. It was fantastic. And we launched. It was great. And about 3 or 4 weeks into our launch, we announced the end of life for that specific product. Heartbreaking. It was a very niche product. It was really great at what it did, but it served a very specific use case that just wasn't being widely adopted. So from a business perspective, it made sense, but it was crushing to have all of that time and energy put into it to have it finish before it even started, right? Now that's me as the vendor perspective, right? Like me, I'm like, oh, shucks. When we think of it from the partner perspective, the amount of effort, energy, time, money, resources that they poured into building that out with us, you can't measure it, right? And so in those instances, you have to step back. Thankfully, the partnership was strong. It didn't derail the overall aspect of what we're doing, but it definitely put a damper on the idea of we're doing this together. We had to be a little bit more strategic in what we chose to move forward with from there.
Ouch. Yeah, it sounds like it. But it must have been a strong partnership. So
it was.
Let's get to a little humor. If a hacker, a firewall, and a VPN walk into a bar, who picks up the tab and who walks out with the data?
They all pay. They're stuck in the bar. Data is king. Leaves on his own. Done.
Wow.
They're all chasing behind him. We'll go with that.
Okay. So what are your predictions for the future based on some of the latest transformational disruptive trends that you see in the market right now and coming up in the future that maybe people aren't looking at?
And I don't think it's that people aren't looking. I just think that we have to continue to double down on our knowledge and our efforts to combat it. The threat landscape is going to continue to evolve with AI. We're going to see an increase in attacks. Data is going to become even more relevant because of what we can do with it when we turn to like LLMs and these data pools that corporations are making, right? Everybody wants to make their own chat GPT, call them chat. They want to make their own chats to help them internally help their employees be, more productive and able to do more with less, or in the less amount of time. And so there's these pools of really great internal IP now that are sitting out there that AI is enabling, but AI is also going to make accessible to the hackers, I think, at a scale that, again, we just cannot quantify yet. Pulling in this idea that virtual reality is going to continue to increase as well. So I don't know, Joe, have you seen some of the videos, the AI videos that have been created recently?
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like, create me a video of a guy riding a bicycle and he passes a lady eating an ice cream cone in a park that resembles Central Park but isn't. And, there's a fountain. And it will create it where you do have to take a double take and go, what am I looking at here? Are those real people? And the answer is no. And so we're getting to this point of what's even truth. You have to have a baseline of truth before you can take action off of it. And so those are things that we have to really mitigate for and try to get in front of right now.
Yeah, I could definitely see some scariest scenarios where somebody creates a video and of the CEO telling the CFO, okay, I want you to transfer $100,000 immediately. It's an emergency. This vendor is demanding payment, and it's all bogus, and it's just an AI created phishing attack, but even worse. So for sure.
Yeah, and we've seen that in the corporate space, but even on a personal level, we're seeing these kind of attacks against consumers themselves. And so it's not just your business at risk, it's your livelihood as a person. And we're still trying to fight that too, all at once.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're going to be busy for a long time to come. Checkpoint's got a lot of work to do. So
cybersecurity is job security.
What are your business goals for the next year?
Yeah, so our focus is to continue to enrich our MSSP program, aligning our products with what our MSSPs are looking to take to the market. And then also corporately, we have this idea of a garden ecosystem. Okay, so we are great at what we do, but we are not short-sighted in thinking that we are the only thing that an enterprise customer or a small business customer would need in their environment. And so we're creating partnerships and technology integration and alliances with other vendors that are playing in the same space with us. So corporately, as we're doing that up here, I'm doing it here at the MSSP space, partnering with other companies that are going after the same MSSPs in terms of our go-to-market, our enablement strategy, and really focusing on what the customer needs in the end. So we'll continue to do that. And that, I love doing that.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Tell us something memorable about Checkpoint that you haven't already told us.
The story people tell is that Gil, our founder, and his friends, came up with the firewall. I think some people tell the story in his grandmother's garage. So you believe that or not, but that's kind of one of the stories. The other one that's just memorable is our logo. We've recently changed our Checkpoint logo to the surprise of, I think, the entire industry. For many years, I wish I had it to show, but many years we were kind of this Pepto-Bismol pink little computer with some, data points on it, some ones and zeros, if you will. And we transformed our logo, and really what we were doing is going out to the market and trying to transform ourselves. People saw the Checkpoint logo as old, and therefore the associated that agedness with Checkpoint as well. So when we were trying to come into the new markets and be seen as a true power player in the cybersecurity space again, we had to kind of transform our logo, and that's really part of where it came from. So, and honestly, to be completely transparent with you, it's amazing what marketing can do. Slight changes like that, personas change, perceptions change.
Interesting. We'll have to use the Wayback to look at the old logo and compare it to the new one then.
Yeah, exactly. They kind of morph one into the other. There's a video out there, I think, on YouTube that shows like the old morphing into the new. It's quite sentimental.
Oh, well, I'll have to look for that video. Sounds great.
Yeah.
So let's settle this debate once and for all, okay?
Oh boy.
What's more
Okay.
dangerous in terms of an internal threat? A board admin with access to config files, or the executive who insists that password must be password 123 because it's easy to remember?
They're both losers. Nobody's a winner in this case. Nobody comes out on top. Those are horrible situations to be in.
You came from a non-technical background, as I understand. How do you end
I
up
did.
at Checkpoint?
Yeah, so really fun fact. Statistics say that a degree in cybersecurity is the most useless degree you can have. Okay, cybersecurity in general. So of course that's what I decided to spend my hard-earned money on and get a degree in, which was great. I come from a background of health and human services, and really at the core of that is helping people. Right, that's what I love. At the end of the day, I feel fulfilled if I've helped people. But my family, all of my family is in cybersecurity. So I grew up talking about firewall at the dinner table, right? That was the environment we were in. And my parents have been in the industry for multiple decades, we'll say. And so there was always this push to bring me into cyber, at least in networking, at least computers, but cyber. And I, of course, like any good child, completely took their advice and did the opposite as much as I could, but then realized that, there was this new trend coming up that I was starting to see once I got into my young adulthood, and made the pivot back into cybersecurity. And that's how I ended up in cybersecurity. I started out answering the chat. Back when there wasn't a chat bot, there was actually a person doing it. I was the person answering website chats and the 1-800 phone numbers at a cybersecurity company. And that's where I started. I had zero knowledge about anything, but I had a curiosity and a desire to grow. And that's where it's brought me to where I am today.
Wow. So your background, you didn't go to school for it, but it
Mm-mm.
sounds like growing up with your parents, did both of your parents encourage you to get into cybersecurity?
Absolutely, they did. My dad retired about a year ago, and my mom is still in cybersecurity, working for one of the leading cybersecurity companies in the world.
Okay. So they must be proud of where you're at and proud to when did you say that pivot point occurred where you were at answering the chats and
15 years ago. 15 years
wow,
ago. Yeah. Yep.
interesting.
They're very proud.
Yeah. On a personal level, how do you stay up to date on current events? I mean, with so much going on in your space and news that's relevant.
Yeah. One of the things that I like to do is every morning, as you know, we all have our process in the morning. We get to our computer, we open up the files we need, we, open up the browsers, whatever it is. One of the first things I do is spend 5 to 10 minutes kind of browsing the headlines. Sometimes it's just headlines. Sometimes there's stories that you double down into and spend some time reading about. But just being aware of the headlines are at least giving you the idea of what the trends are. So every day, first 5 or 10 minutes I spend taking a look at what's going on, what's out there, and then deciding if I'm going to spend a few extra minutes diving into it on any specific day. The other thing I do is I keep really smart people around me, and I ask them all the time, "What are you hearing?" Because if it's trend worthy, somebody around me knows, and they'll help inform me as well.
Right. Are there any particular websites that you use to, get the latest updates?
Specifically in the MSSP space, there's some syndications, just very simple. I'm sure everybody's heard of them. MSP Alerts, CRN, Channel Futures. Those are all very topical, but very industry relevant as well to what we're doing. So not only am I hearing about what's going on, I'm hearing about it from a channel perspective or a service delivery perspective, which helps me take some of those highlights or some of those headlines and bring them into the conversations that I'm having as well.
Would you say are some of the key skills or knowledge that you think are going to be the most important for success in this space over the next few years? And then what are you doing also to just maintain or advance your knowledge in those areas?
I think you can't go wrong in terms of still cloud. I think still having a cloud understanding is good skill set. Any type of AI class or certification you can take, data resiliency, understanding basic frameworks and compliance models, right? Those are really important. And then for me, I'm out there. There's a lot of free things on the internet. A lot of things you can ask your friendly chat GPT as well, around questions. So one of the things I try to do is stay curious. And it used to be where I'd have a question in my mind and I'd have to write it down on a piece of paper and go to the library and research it. Now I have a question in my mind and I literally say, tell me about this and how I can conceptualize it in all these different ways. And ChatGPT will give me a really good summary of things to consider to not only, I've got the piqued curiosity and it helps me kind of filter down of what I'm doing. So just stay curious, ask the questions.
Great advice. Stay curious and ask questions. I like it. What are you passionate about? Like outside hobbies, outside of work?
Yeah, I've got a big family and we love to travel. So I'm going to write a book someday. I told people ask me all the time, I'll write a book. I'll write everything down. But we're a large family. We have 6 children still at home today. And we love to take them on adventures and see them learn new things and experience new things is probably the most rewarding thing I do.
That sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any incredible places that you've traveled to that you would recommend?
So Mexico is our favorite just because it is kind of hands off, lay low. But I love exploring Europe. I haven't done Asia yet. I think once the kids get older, that'll be an area. I've got a couple kids going to Tokyo next year. They got some great grandparents that love traveling the world too. So I come by the passion naturally. But we do a lot in Europe too, just traveling around. We'll be doing October. We'll do Switzerland. Just get up in the mountains and explore a little bit. So again, it just goes back to that curiosity. There's so much out there, and we sit in our little bubble in our day to day, and we just forget to explore and go out and learn more.
Sounds really great. I mean, I've been to Japan recently, and it was incredible. Okinawa and just like,
yes,
of course, Tokyo. So,
yeah.
If you could go back in time, what would you tell your younger self?
I am a master procrastinator in terms of getting things done. But I used to be a master procrastinator in starting things. Right? I wouldn't even start them. And so I would go back and say, start now. If you've got an idea, if you've got questions, start asking them now. See where they take you. Don't put that off. Okay, maybe procrastinate, the project till the night before. Totally fine. People work better under pressure sometimes, but at least start the ideas, start conceptualizing things, and don't put it off. That's where really good ideas come from, and that's how really good think tanks happen. So not only that, but put other people around you that are starting now and asking the questions too.
Where the audience can find out more about you and your company, Checkpoint?
Yeah, Checkpoint has, you can find us at checkpoint.com. We've also got great content going out all the time in our blog, checkpoint.com/blog. You'll find the link on our main URL, but also we're very active on LinkedIn. We've got a lot of evangelists within the organization that are doing a lot in the industry around shows, podcasts, press interviews and things. So a lot of the hot trends that are going on, we've got Checkpoint experts that are out there talking about them.
Well, this is great. This brings us to the end of another episode, and I hope I'll see you on the next one, and I hope you'll follow us. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe. It was a pleasure.
ETMA Tech Talk podcast requires more than a conversation. It takes research, collective wisdom, and action. If today's episode resonated with you, we'd love to hear your insights. Join the conversation and help us shape the future together. We'll be back with more stories, strategies, and real-world solutions from the market's top problem solvers, making a difference for everyone. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe, rate, write a review, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it too. Thanks for listening, and see you on the next episode.